will be looking at a topic of divorce. Does Jesus really expect me to stay in this difficult marriage? Now, this is the question that many probably ask. Divorce have become such a normal part of society nowadays, really. It's easy, you get married, you get divorced, right? So what does it mean in those days to get divorced? However, I have my personal feeling about this whole thing, okay? If your life or the life of your children is in danger, get out now. Don't allow feeling of insecurity to overpower your safety, of your children and yourself. Don't let the threats to hold you prisoner, abuse is okay. Antithesis of Jesus' kingdom vision. You have your answer. You do it. If the situation calling to be safe, you do it now. But most time when I'm asked about divorce, that's not the situation people want to know, So on what ground people can get divorced? Divorce was legal in Jesus' day as it is in ours today. So problematically, the Torah wasn't specific about ground for divorce. Deuteronomy 24 just said that when there was a divorce, the ex-wife should receive a legal certificate to protect her rights. She was then free to marry someone else. As you might expect, this left the door wide open for discussion about, so what is an acceptable ground? On what ground? But in his mountain side of sermon, Jesus was not addressing that question. He was teaching people how to be his kingdom. Under his kingship, there should be no murder. He expects his people to manage their anger. As I have already made also other audio that includes these two topics, and I have posted up earlier, okay? So if you haven't listened to it, you can go back and listen to it. So Jesus was actually he was teaching people how to be in his kingdom. Under his kingship, there should be no adultery also. He expects his people to keep their eyes clean. Under his kingship, there should be no divorce. He expects his people to make their relationships work. Ultimately, that's how Jesus' kingdom will be. When every knee bows to King Jesus, the Master, hallelujah, and every tongue acknowledge him as Lord, there will be no murder, no adultery, no divorce, no broken promises. We represent that kingdom on earth now. So he called us to live in the present, portraying the vibrant picture of life in his reign. That's the ideal, but there's a problem. Not everyone submit to King Jesus now. So what if your spouse abandon you and run off with someone else? Jesus knows it takes two to make the relationship work. If your spouse destroy the marriage, the king doesn't blame you, okay? Other New Testament writers understand marriage that way as well. Paul called the Corinthian to be a living portrayal of the gospel's power to reconcile people. But if an unbelieving partner abandons you, God doesn't bind you to this, He doesn't hold you accountable to destroy your marriage. For He calls His people to live in peace. Corinthians 7:15. Divorce is always painful. Both people are, bloodied, heartbroken, ashamed. There's many destructive emotions that come with divorce. You feel like you're being torn apart, the whole family, literally. So sometimes they don't stop to consider the impact it has on the partner. They rejecting how it will affect the other person's future life. It's the one thing that Jesus asked his people to do. If you, the person initiating the divorce, if it's not that your partner has already wrecked the marriage, then stop and consider what kind of future you are condemning them to. All right. That is a tough call, and that is such as God's heart, for us to think of others first. Hallelujah. Our King is great. Immediately, prior to this verse, Jesus talked about reconciliation 5:23 in Luke 5:23 to 26 and guarding your heart. Immediately after this verse, he talked about keeping your vows. He asks you not to wreck your marriage, but he also wants you to know that he doesn't hold you responsible if your partner has responsible causing this wrecked. Did you notice that it's not in the verse? Jesus has stopped talking about punishment. Regarding anger, he spoke of punishment by a human or divine courts. Regarding lust, he spoke of penalizing yourself. But the king doesn't just want obedience based on fear of consequences. He wants people who obey because they love and trust their king. What an amazing our God. Jesus is committed to his people through thick and thin, for better or worse, in good time and in bad. But when we are easy or difficult to live with, his faithfulness in our lifeline, the marriage of heaven and earth depends on it. Finding it hard to stick with your marriage, meditate, be kind, think with the heart of Jesus, walk like him. So this issue need to be taken very carefully and apply a lot of thought into, because divorce is not easy to talk about. There's a lot of life on the line, isn't it, when we do talk about divorce. So use your discernment, and that is Matthew 5:31 to 32. So thanks for listening, guy, and I hope you have a great afternoon. Shalom.